What's up, everyone? It's been a while since I've done a video, and that's due to being excessively busy at the school and life in general. But I promised myself that I would get back on it again and start my podcasts and the rest of the stuff. And I've got some videos that are going to be coming out in terms of Pankration, technical, street stuff, and the like. And I'll be giving it to you more in detail as time goes on. What I did want to do is share my thoughts about, the return back to school. It's 2019, end of summer approaching, and I thought I'd share my thoughts on my experience that I've had at the school over the last, I don't know how many years, working with kids and adults alike. But I think this pertains more to the kids than anything else. So the school year ends, and summer begins. Parents are excited. It's like something new happens and it's shut off time, Unfortunately, life doesn't shut off, and that's the problem. Now, I've seen, I can't tell you how many, but an overwhelming amount of kids, and the problem with kids that are growing today in terms of what they're facing in school because of the way society is growing in terms of social media and other forms of media, and the effect that has on kids in general, the stuff that they're watching, the information that's being relayed to them, and so on and so forth. I mean, I post occasionally certain videos or news articles on my Facebook page in terms of the suicide rate and suicides that happen within young kids because of the bullying problem. And those are just the few that we see, not the many that we hear about, that we don't hear about. So, and my thoughts kind of like run parallel to what a lot of the university studies have been finding over the research that has been going on over the last 50 plus years, in terms of this issue here. The end of the school year happens and everybody is excited. The summer is here. Kids are off for 2.5 months. The parents are happy for the first 2 weeks, and then they want them out of there. Here's what I encounter, and this is a problem that I've seen over many, many, many years. And this pattern keeps on going over and over again, and there's no end to it, and everybody keeps falling into the same pothole. And the same effects. It's just cause and effect. I think parents think they know their kids better than anybody else does, or they think they know what's better for their kids. They probably do know their kids better than anybody else does, but they probably think they know what's best for their kids. And a lot of the times they don't. And I speak as a parent as well, because we just see things from the inside of the box, and the emotional content is there too. So, when that is involved and it's attached, it's hard to make, rational and reasonable decisions. There are some parents, a lot of parents that do make these decisions. They're, not to say less attached, they just see things from a different point of view based on their experiences as well. Which I have to, tip my hat off to the parents of my school, because they're incredible individuals that think, we all think on the same page. We're like-minded in terms of, the growth of our kids, discipline, that's involved. And the word is growth, primarily growth. And there's certain subjects that need to be addressed, individually. And I don't think this video is going to have a lot of time for that, which I will break it up, Problem is that when the end of the school year happens, most parents, who have their kids in the martial arts school, especially those who have already paid through the year, find it okay to take a break completely and put them into a seasonal sport, soccer, baseball, whatever. I think they mistaken discipline and an activity that pertains to growth and that which is for fun and entertainment, which that should happen across the board, usually year round. But it shouldn't be misconstrued for discipline and for the child's personal growth, as well as the adults as well. And this is what I find is the problem with this. When you stop a child from doing that which helps him grow, that which helps him become acquainted with himself, that which helps him deal with himself, his fears, his stresses, and everything else, and you stop him in the summertime for 2.5 months. Now, if your kid did 10 years, of martial arts, and you take 2.5 months and put him in there, that's a full year gone. In the 2.5 months in the span of, let's say, 9 months, depending on how consistent they are through the year, that's 2.5 months of, de-learning. This is digressing constantly. This is a standard 2.5 months of digressing while others are actually progressing. Now, let's say that child in particular has had, which I'd say a large majority of the kids that do come to my school have major bully problems. Let's say that kid has had bully problems. Here's what a lot of parents don't get. The bully doesn't stop. Life doesn't stop. You won't stop blinking, breathing, eating, defecating, and so on and so forth. What makes you think that it's okay for him to stop or her to stop her personal growth? And I don't want to peg it to the parents, because I know they have a full plate on their shoulder, but, I think priorities are priorities no matter what. And we live our life, especially when we have kids, based on priority. And it's usually a priority of threat. That's how we deem things. What's my priority of threat? Which is the most important things? Well, my bills, work, my bills, and then pertaining to my kids, what's the priority? Their well-being and their well-being in terms of growth, their ability to self-discover. I think parents are focusing too much on their fun. And this is where we're having, and I'm encountering a lot of kids with serious problems, because the issues of, the more inner deep issues of them having to deal with their fears and that which, the things that they encounter outside is not addressed. It's addressed when it's too late. So school year ends, some kids take a full break, and these are the kids that have had problems. I think the parents deem it's okay for them to kind of take a break and just break away from everything. The problem is life does not break away from anything. Life continues. The problem they had at school, whether it was a bully of a kid or a bully of a teacher, is still going to be there, no matter what. Hey, he's going on through his summer. They're going on through their summer, without skipping a beat, being who they are. Your child decides to take a break. Well, you decide to take a break for your child. Now he's got to go, but now the end of the summer comes. This is the end of the summer. And I've seen the difference between those of my kids who have continued through the summer training. They haven't skipped a beat in terms of their growth. We're always dealing with these issues. We're always dealing with them, and they're always getting better and better and better. They're getting stronger. They're feeling more confident. They haven't skipped a beat, and they haven't been taught that at a certain time of the year, it's good to stop life. Stop it. Stop breathing, stop blinking, stop shitting, stop this, stop that, stop everything. It's fun time, good time. The problem is with life, life is not always a good time. A good time, you make a good time by being comfortable in your skin and well within your environment and, going on and living a life that is, manageable for you emotionally, mentally, and physically, and so on and so forth. Stopping them for a month, 2 months, 2.5 months is absolutely devastating. And how many kids do I see? And here's the effect. This is the problem. This is what they encounter the most. They come back into school, and they come back into they go back to school, and then they come back into our school. They come back to the academy. They've noticed that everybody else has progressed while they've literally regressed. They're kids. Kids regress much faster than adults do. Their ability to remember is much, to retain things, especially if they're going through a full summer of complete doing nothing except playing around, playing, and vacation. Now, for those that take off for a month of vacation, that's understandable. That's a given. For those that are here, take off for a week or 2 weeks on vacation, they're here for the rest of the 2.5 months. Let me tell you what kids encounter. Number one, they have to come back to the school. When they do come back to the school, they come back and they're completely behind. They gotta, the level of frustration on their part also becomes this, disheartening when they see kids totally advanced. Because 2.5 months is 2.5 months. 2.5 months of summertime means your muscles are more relaxed. It's easier to train, easier to warm up, easier to train. People are more, they're training more willingly. everybody's in a better mood. Well, these kids are coming back and they're struggling through the initial push-ups they were able to do from the beginning. Now they're having a hard time trying to do 5, let alone 20. That's the initial stuff they meet at the school, at the academy. At any martial arts school they have to go back to. They have to deal with, the jealousy factor, and the fact that if they were insecure to begin with, are now more insecure because they've noticed that they are way behind. And not only are they behind because other kids have been working consistently, but they're behind because they can't even catch up to what they were able to do before. Their endurance is gone. Their strength has gone down. Don't forget, they're just growing. And because they're just growing, the muscle goes, we've had a bit of some intensity happening, but now we're back down to, sedentary mode. So they just do what they do. So they find the frustration within the academy itself, and a lot of them become discouraged enough to not even want to continue and they won't express that to their parents. Some will and say, well, I can't, they're more ahead, I can't even do 10 push-ups anymore, and then the parents are trying to console them. But it was the parents' fault. You took them out because you thought that this was a good idea. And it's not a good idea. This has nothing to do with fun. This has everything to do with, personal growth. Especially if your child has had a problem. That's the worst part. That problem is going to be at school. Now we're going back to the school. That problem is there again now. That emotional content, that emotional stress, that anxiety is starting to kick in. I've never seen a scenario where kids at 10 years old, 8 years old are having panic attacks, 11, 12. Man, I remember growing up and, there was guys that wanted to beat the living daylights out of us, older guys, who wanted to kick the shit out of us, at a time when things were pretty bad. And we'd go, as soon as we left the school and we went home, there were no panic attacks. We'd just go on with our business because the problem stayed at school, unless that problem lived next to you. That was, and even then it would be solved. What's going on today? Today it's just, it goes home with you because of this. Click, 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 click. Everybody's on, everybody's on the cell phone or on the computer, on the chat rooms, and then it's going, like wildfire. So now the kid goes back to school and he's got to deal with that bully who didn't skip a beat. He just continued doing what they were doing, or that teacher. And regardless, forget what the teacher and the bully were doing. It's that the other kid just went into a complete halt for the entire summer. His personal growth went down the tubes. Now he's got to start all over again, but it's even backwards. It's even worse than starting all over again, because you constantly think of, I was doing good, and then now I'm in a worse place now. Now I have to go back and I can't even do 10 push-ups anymore. My pride has gotten to me. I'm already insecure and I got to deal with this, and then I have to deal with what's happening in school. So my level of discouragement is happening from the academy and there. Well, no matter how much we try to encourage them, I hate to say it, but some parents are detrimental to their own kids' encouragement. A lot of parents, and I'd say most of the parents, all the parents in my school do an amazing job because we all see eye to eye on certain things. And their kids' growth is constantly there. Although I've seen a lot of the kids, I'll miss a day or two here and there. The majority of them were consistent. To conclude, not to be overbearing with this, but, and I'm not trying to nail parents or anything. I'm just letting you know what kids go through when they have to go back to school and when they miss 2.5 months from their personal growth. Here's what I think. I think people need to, distinguish between what's fun for a kid and what's good for a kid's growth. What's important for the kid's growth. A place where they can discover themselves, challenge themselves, be challenged, in a safe environment, and one that allows them to grow through boredom, monotony, find themselves in every way possible. And something that they can look back a few years later on and have something to look back at and say, wow, what a difference where I was and where I am. These kids that come in and out, never get to see that. And these kids that play seasonal sports never get to see that. You're not giving them an opportunity to discover themselves in a place. So they'll find stimulus somewhere else through premature relationships, drugs, alcohol, and anything else that sounds exciting, because there's nothing else to stimulate them. So this is what my thoughts and my opinion is. You know, you should be able to distinguish between a kid's growth and a kid's fun, and should be able to provide them with both. They should have both. They should play with both. I tell my kids, when summertime comes around, you should be outside playing. You should be back here training, but you should be outside playing. Absolutely. You've got to be able to have your fun, man. It's just part of growing up. We did that also, but we looked forward to going, to going to our training that night. Again, we didn't have the panic attacks these kids have. School's coming up. You should see some of them come into the school and how they are emotionally on the inside. They're like melted jello, man. That's what it is. They're like dreading having to go back to school, while the ones that were training, the other ones that are, enjoying finding themselves are like gung-ho. Okay, they might not be going back to do the homework, but they don't feel obstructed, or hesitant about, I got to go back to school because I got to face something. They don't care about what they have to face. They're willing to face that. That's part of life. They know that. They can deal with that. So, when the school happens to end, you got to sit back and you got to think, are you trying to relieve yourself or your child? Because if you're trying to take the stress off of yourself, you're doing your child, you're not doing your child a favor. They are the priority. Their growth is very important, especially if they're the type that have these insecurities, low self-esteem, and they've had problems at school. Like the majority of the kids that I do know are the ones having problems at school than the minority. Now it's the minority that don't have a problem. Back in my days, it was the majority that didn't have a problem. It was a minority that had a problem. So you've got to sit and evaluate, your scenario and what you have your child in for. And understand that they need to be, their personal growth is even more important than their form of entertainment. Entertainment is there, they're going to play anyways. You must prepare them for what goes on, because life doesn't stop. So my advice to those parents that like to say, well, summer's here, life is done, let's take a break, it's time to do nothing. Well, if it's for you, that's fine. But look at your scenario, look at your kids. Are your kids in that position where they should do nothing? Because trying to take them away from, trying to comfort them by saying, listen, take the summer off and just relax, does not prepare them for what they need to do when they need to go back to school. They will be going back to school. And as the time approaches, their anxiety levels kick back in again, because they know they're not prepared. And what are you going to do? Comfort them? You can't be in school to comfort them. You can comfort them all you want outside of the school, in bed, before they go to bed, and this and that. You can give them all the comfort they want. You cannot replace the self-confidence that they earn, while training in martial arts or in boxing or in something like that. No matter how much you try. Leave them where they are. Have your fun. Go on vacation. Take them, of course. Put them back in, and and make sure that their personal growth is priority. It's pinnacle, because summer is only 2.5 months. A year, school is 9 months. 9 months of problems. 9 months of emotional problems. 9 months where it affects their homework and their well-being, and you can't deal with it because you're not a psychologist. And then here we go. They're out of control, and then they're dealing with it in their own ways. And it could be rebellious. It could be very reclusive. It could be anything. And let's deal with it this way. Let's give them the medication. I hope it doesn't come down to that. It's small little decisions that make everything. And those decisions are based on serious thinking and selfless thinking. I can't tell you how many parents have told me, I just needed a break. You needed a break? Really? Are you going to go back to school with that panic attack, with that anxiety, with the lack of self-esteem, and have to deal with it? Fuck, man, that's selfish. I'm blessed to have parents that are amazing. They know what they need to do. Their kids take a vacation when they need to, but they're constantly back in school. They're training. Martial arts is a lifestyle. It's not a seasonal sport. It's not even a sport, if you consider it. It's a road to self-discovery through hard, arduous training and work. And because it's hard and arduous, we need to make them understand that it's okay for them to work hard. What you're doing is saying, stop. Stop life right here. June 24th came around, no need to do nothing hard anymore. Go out and play. man, that's being delusional, and that's detrimental to the kids' growth. As a teacher who's been seeing this for the past, and as a parent myself, I've never forced my kids to do this or that, or summertime come around, I gave them when they needed to be off this time, but I never let them fall short of it, fall on the wayside. I always made sure that this is what we do. So all I'm saying is that this is the end of the summer we're approaching. You guys need to consider that these kids, and for those that don't have their kids in martial arts, and they have problems at school and they have self-esteem problems, they have insecurities, it's something that you need to consider. Is perhaps you need to start visiting martial arts schools, trying out a few, and not one day. I offer usually a week. Make sure that you're in there for a good 3-4 days, 3-4 lessons. Most martial arts instructors will say, no, why? You got to pay for it. Me, I give a week because in one day I can put my best foot forward, take your money, and then the rest of the time it's a write-off. It's a loss for you. So what I recommend is start looking around for martial arts schools, get a good one, make sure you try enough days within one, make sure that they deal with reality, check out who the teacher is, how long he's worked with kids. Reputations go around, especially in a small town like this, and then put your kid in there and understand that you're putting him in a place where he will learn to discover himself. It is not entertaining. He will find it entertaining later on if the teacher knows what he's doing and the curriculum is great. But it is about self-growth, and something that is very, very much needed today, because we tend to confuse technology with a very safe society. And if you've been paying attention, it's anything but safe. This is at maybe the worst, because we don't see the dangers, and the dangers are there. We hear about them and we read about them, and they're at a grand scale. So for those parents that have decided to take the entire summer off, something to reconsider, because not all kids, it's not for the sake of all kids that are, the ones that lack self-esteem, or the ones that are insecure, or the ones that have had bully problems, but for those that are the bullies, for those that are the ones that need to be calmed down, they need to be humbled, not just the ones that are having the problem. And I only address those, but it's the ones that are also the cause of the problem that need to be put in these type of schools, in a martial arts environment where they can be disciplined and in the right way with time. So I just wanted to share with you my thoughts on how the summer has turned out and what I've seen over the years in terms of finish the end of school and the back to school. And I hope you guys, for those that do agree with it or not, your comments are welcomed. Like and share the video. Maybe it'll help others, and I'll be seeing you very soon with a different context of partially this subject over here. So until next time, peace out.